Is it more the offensive line not creating holes, or is it just these untalented sort of mediocre running backs? Which one is more responsible for this?
Yeah, and I think when you talk about the line with it too, I put some of that on the tight ends as well, because there are some games where they're just not getting the job done either. It's funny because after the game, I was talking to Zach Brown. He was like, well, anyone behind Dallas, looked at it, you could run behind them. And this has not been that sort of a group. This is not, they need to still have the line. I think does a good job in protection. They work together well, et cetera. But in the run game, you're not seeing the guys being driven off the ball the way you would see, like, say, yesterday, Dallas at times.
Like, how many yards, John, do you think Zeke would have had for the Redskins yesterday? Like, I know he's great and he's special. He's a top fiver. But how many do you think he has for the Redskins yesterday? Maybe 90? He doesn't have 150 like he did yesterday.
Well, he doesn't have 150 because there are a lot of times he's getting 4 yards or so before he gets hit. But he'd still have a pretty good game because he can also make guys miss. And I think there's a patience and a burst that he has. He can play with behind, going to get something more. And I think when you like the production when he comes out of the game, there's a drop off. So clearly he could run behind just about pretty much. Well, he can run behind any line. So I think it's a combination. You look at the blocking in general, including the tight ends and sometimes the receivers on certain runs. And then the fact that they don't have a back that is going to jump out at you. Robert Kelly is a really nice story, and I think personally he's a really good guy. I think he does what he's getting the most out of what he has, but is that enough? And I think that's where you have to look at it as well.
Well, like you said, I mean, yesterday was a game where you needed a healthy offensive line, and you needed a running game in those conditions.
Yes.
And it was clear that the Redskins didn't have either of those. But going forward, if you don't have, and you know this, John, if you don't have a healthy offensive line, okay, let's just say Seattle, if they go into the same situation next week, they're done. Even if you're playing bad teams, if you don't have an offensive line that can block, you're not going to win those games.
No, and I think what also happens too is what you'd see with Dallas a lot yesterday. Dallas was, they blitzed a couple times, but they were able to just drop and cover with 7 a lot. And I think that's because you figure they're going to get some pressure with 4. And I think that's one thing you have to watch, too, is how these teams cover. Do they come after them at all or a lot? Like Seattle's been blitzing more than they usually do. Do they stay with strategy or and maybe give them a chance to get a big play, or do you just sit back, forfeiting your pressure and cover that way? I think the other thing with that, too, is, again, I think the tight end situation, because one thing they wanted to do yesterday is use a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets. And you can get mismatches in the pass game when you have Davis and Reed in there at the same time. And so you're facing base coverage. Well, it leads to mismatches in certain spots. And they can't, you can take advantage of that with that. They can't do that now. If Reed is out, I don't know if he'll be out or not, but it limits what they can do. But again, there's nothing else they can sit there and hang their hat on offense. And it does go back to for me, that's one of the bigger disappointments this year is that because they thought it was going to be better. They drafted P. Ryan. He hasn't really produced at all. And the blocking hasn't been there consistently. So to me, that's like one of the biggest disappointments of this season so far.
Joined by John Keim, Redskins reporter for ESPN. Now the Skins have to fly to Seattle next week. They face the Seahawks team. It's won 4 straight games. They've scored 87 points in their last 2 home wins. So as bad as it seems now, it's about to get worse.
Yeah. and they don't lose at home. So I think right. I want to say they're like now it's either 29-6 or 30-6. I can't remember which one it is, but over the last 3 or 4 years, whatever.
It's like 90% they win at home.
Yeah, exactly. And part of that is just because they're a good team, and part of it is because it's a hard place to play. So again, and we don't know what's going to happen with the line this week. If Sheriff will be back, I don't know if Long will be back. But if those guys can't come back, now you have possibly a rookie center and a rookie guard, and possibly Trent Williams should not come back. he might come back because he's Trent Williams, but he shouldn't come back this week based on what doctors have told him about how much, they want him to take a few weeks off. So then now you have all this stuff going on in a loud stadium trying to handle that defense and that rush. So that's not a very easy thing to do. And, I like I said, I think they have to I think what you have to hope, if you're a Redskins fan, you have to hope they can get healthy after this coming week and then be able to maybe hold serve at home against the Vikings, who are playing very well, and New Orleans, and try to stay healthy and piece it together through to get to December, because the schedule eases up. But the problem is the schedule can ease up, but if you don't have anybody, you're not playing well, it doesn't matter.